Since I'm going to replace the seals, the output seal, the input seal, and the rod selector seal up here, I'm going to be changing out the oil. This is lifetime oil in the transmission here according to BMW, but you can change it out. They have a fill plug here and a drain under here. Those are both 17 millimeter. So I'm going to drain out the old fluid and put in new fluid. Before you release the drain plug, it's always a good idea to loosen up the fill plug just to make sure that you can get that out and it's not stuck, because if you drain it all and you can't fill it, then you're in trouble. Okay, after I took the oil out, I put the drain and fill plugs back in just so that when I'm moving the transmission around, whatever remaining drops of oil are left in there don't leak out. And now I'm going to replace the seal here on the front. This is called the input seal. And this is your 4 10 millimeter bolts that are holding on this sleeve. It might be a little stuck on there. You just gotta give it a good twist and it will come off. Now here you can see this seal that's in there. That's what we're going to be replacing. You can see, I don't know if you noticed, but there was some wet fluid here, which was some of the oil that had been kind of leaking out. So the seal was going bad on mine, and it was leaking. So it's a good time to replace it now while it's out of the car, rather than having to pull the transmission again at a later date. Okay, in order to get this inner seal out, what I did was use a trick I saw online and drilled. I tried to tap it in there, but there's not a real easy way to get your hammer in here to tap on the end of the screw to get it to set inside the seal. So what I did was actually I took a small little drill bit and drilled a tiny hole into the metal of the seal, making sure not to go through too far. And you'll see there's a good sized gap when I pull this out, so that'll give you something to grab onto, so you can grab some pliers, grab onto the screw head, and then pull the seal out. And so what that does for you, you can see back here there's a good gap, so you're not going to hit anything with the screw as long as you don't screw it in too tight, and you only need to go in a little bit. So you can see there, I just went in a little tiny bit with the screw head. Just it grabs onto the metal that's around the seal, and then once you grab onto that, you have a good something nice and firm to pull on with the pliers to pull it out. On the back side of the transmission, the two seals are the output shaft seal, which is under here, and then the selector, the shift selector seal, which is this black one you can see right here. And so we'll take off this 30 millimeter right here. You need a thin wall 30 millimeter. To do that, I'll take this extension that I have and just stick it in there so that the hub won't spin. Then use my impact to spin that right off. Once the 30 millimeter nut's off, you just use a puller. Hopefully you have a puller to remove the hub portion of it. Comes right off, and that's what it looks like. And again, to get this out, actually probably don't need to on this one, because you can reach in here on the inside and pull it out. Just want to make sure whatever tool you use, you don't scrape the outside of the surface, because if you do that, you can create a leak. So I think I am going to drill a small little hole in here. Just like that. And then I can put my screw into that. Get a couple of threads worth in there. Grab onto it with some pliers and give it a nice yank. I had to find a couple different size screws, but finally I found one that that would grab onto the metal enough to be able to pull it out. So just keep trial and error. Again, make sure you don't have anything that's going to mar or score this inside surface. I don't know if you can tell that in the frame, but unlike the input shaft, this output one does have another rubber seal underneath that one we just removed. So again, just if you're going to use the screw method to take out the seal, just make sure you don't screw more than a couple threads in, because you might hit this other seal. And again, on this last seal I used the same method with the small screw, and was able to pop the seal out. Okay, now I got the new shift selector seal, and I'm going to put that in. It just slides over the shift selector, and then you can use a socket. This is a 16mm to press it into place. Might need a little tap. There you go. Just make sure you don't press it in too far. It should be flush with the exterior. There. And then the new output shaft seal, I just kind of pressed it into place with my hand first, and then you can use either a block of wood or something, if you have a big enough socket to fit around the outside, then you can do that, which I might have. So let me see if I can find one. So yeah, I had this is a 34mm, basically 34 to 40mm would probably be good enough to bang this seal in, and just make sure, again, it should be flush with the metal lip. Alright, then you can press on the output linkage that connects to the guibo, and for that I'm just going to use again my 34mm socket, and I can just, before I put that on there, I put some lithium grease on the splines, just a little bit to help it there we go. Now I just use the nut to press it in all the way. And let me find the torque spec for this. To press the front seal, the input seal in, I didn't have a long enough nut driver, so I just used a piece of PVC pipe. This is 1.5 inches, and it fits perfectly over the shaft and around the seal. To press that into place, just a couple whacks with the mallet, and it's right into place. I just set it flush with the face. Then I filled the transmission with new fluid, and now I'm just checking the seals for leaks. I'm tipping it back on its back end, just making sure that output seal doesn't leak any fluid. And I do the same for the front seal, just tip it forward and leave it like that for a while and make sure that the front seal doesn't leak.